Hi, everybody out there. I'm Judy the YouTube Lawyer. This evening, we're going to have a special New Year's Eve, sort of New Year's Eve little comedy special here. And I am joined by Marcus Weeks, who is also known as DebtFree Dad on YouTube. So please check out his financial channel, DebtFree Dad. So Marcus is an attorney. He worked as a public defender in Durham after graduating from NC Central Law School a number of years ago. And so if you guys have any questions for him, that would be great. But our focus tonight is going to be the wackiest legal news of the year. So let me add DebtFree Dad to the live stream. Hey, Marcus, thank you for being here.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Oh, fine. Yeah, I'm wearing your t-shirt here. I guess it's not really showing up, but hustle.
It's all good. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I still use your mug all the time too. So it's very functional, and this is really
Nice.
definitely good quality.
Yeah. Outstanding.
Hey, everybody. Hey, who is Snoopy? Okay, well, thank you, Snoopy. Thanks for being here. And hello, Victor. Thank you for being here. Okay, well, the first news that I wanted us to comment on, and Marcus, feel free to say whatever you feel like. You know, I did say in the description that this is for mature audiences because of the nature of what we're going to be discussing, but it's just so funny. I can't help myself. Okay.
Right.
So the first story I wanted to mention was this case. I think it was in Michigan. Was it Michigan or Wisconsin? Well, anyway, it was regarding this man named David who had been kicked out of his house by his wife. She was going to divorce him. So he had nowhere to go but to go run back and live with his parents. And so he's like in his 40s and he had a humongous porn collection. It was not just, you know, paper materials, but also his DVDs and his sex toys. So he had about 11 or 12 boxes of all those things. And sure enough, you know, it seems like he had some personal problems. So he got into a lot of arguments and fights with his parents. So they finally had to call the police, or somebody had to call the police when they had another terrible blowout. And so he had to leave the home without all his porn. So the parents ended up throwing away all his stuff and they admitted it. And they sent him emails saying things like, well, we did this for your own good. And, you know, you knew that we didn't allow this kind of smutty material and you need to learn to respect women. And we're so appalled at this stuff. And so ultimately he found an attorney and sued them. And he got a verdict it was a bench trial, I believe. So he was awarded about $45,000. That included an award of attorney's fees. So, so Marcus, did you hear about this case and what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I did hear about the case, and I just have, we counselors by trade, so immediately I just had so many questions that I needed to do more open source research. Ultimately, I couldn't find, but one, I need to know the allocation of those funds. What was attorney's fees? What was for actual damages? And did they give him any pain and suffering for the loss of his porn? That's number one.
No, you don't get pain and suffering in these kind of civil cases where someone took your stuff.
He sounded like he wanted it, because how much porn do you need as an individual? I mean, man, we all partook at some point in our life, but goodness gracious.
Yeah, well, I think the attorney's fees were maybe about $12,000 to $15,000. So they even hired an expert, like a porn expert from some museum of erotica from Las Vegas, who estimated that all of his stuff was probably worth about 30 something thousand, which again, I find it weird because I thought that normally you would only get the fair market value of your used stuff. You don't get, I mean, unless there's something funky about the law in wherever it was, Michigan or something, where if it's irreplaceable, then you get the new.
Because of the uniqueness of it.
yeah, like it's like no longer available. You can't order it anymore, like some special sex toy.
Yeah, I would love to see the breakdown of the list, like, because I assume maybe he had some high-speed $5,000 or $10,000 doll that he got imported from China or something to that effect, with lifelike skin and metaverse capabilities. So I just had so many questions.
Yeah, or some like very rare vintage porn magazine or something that really could have had value, because otherwise it's like, I mean, who wants to buy somebody's old DVDs? You know,
right,
I mean,
right.
stuff that I'm assuming you could just get online or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who want to buy him? I mean, I'm so shocked at his parents. Who would want to touch him? I mean, like, just come
Yeah.
on.
No, they probably just saw the boxes and opened them up and quickly, decided to take it all to the dump or bring it down when trash delivery pickup came. I don't think they actually touched it all. Oh, except like some of it, like they thought that it could have been kiddie porn. So they took some of the DVDs and put it in a safe deposit box at the bank, and then law enforcement got involved. And I think they ultimately concluded that it wasn't child porn, but that was another issue. But ultimately, the judge felt that the parents obviously did him wrong and that was his stuff. So he deserved to be compensated. I was just really surprised it was so much money.
Yeah, I think I don't know if that, I mean, like, I could probably live 2 lifetimes. I could live 3 lifetimes to the ripe age of 70, and I don't think that I can accumulate like
$30,000.
$30,000. That's just crazy. But I think that in the background of all this, one of the important things is that I think his parents was trying to help him. Legal standpoint aside, I think his parents was like, "Damn, bro, you got a problem. We're gonna try to help you cold turkey, even though legally it is his property. I get all that, but damn, that's just kind of insane to me."
Yeah. Okay. Well, Snoopy wants to know, where did we get the shirt? So is there a link on your YouTube channel main website or main page?
Yeah, I'm actually going to post the link in the description and on my Instagram channel on January 1st. I actually had a shop opened up, but I wasn't gonna launch it officially until the new year. But if you check out my YouTube channel or on Instagram at official DebtFree Dad, once the new year come around, I'll have the link and you can go on and order that financial nerdy type of merch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great shirt. Okay, so Jaden, I think he's pre-law. He says, "Hi, Judy. Can't wait to hear your comment on the Jussie Smollett."
See?
Yeah. I was just like watching all these parody videos and people's reactions and stuff, and I was like laughing until
Right.
afternoon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it took place. I'm pretty sure it was a Michigan lawsuit, the one about the man suing his parents over lost porn. Yeah, DebtFree Dad is hilarious. He's a porn connoisseur. Okay. 30. No, it was real, because I remember last year I had a live stream about the case before the actual judgment was determined. And the judge said that they needed to have another hearing to determine the amount of his damages. So that's when I think it was the plaintiff that probably hired the expert from the Museum of Erotica to come to a monetary dollar figure for that porn. Yeah.
And you know something else that's ridiculous? I hope they shouldn't have paid this guy any expert fees. I think you could get 90% of the guys in the world could serve as an expert to tell you the value.
Yeah, but I don't think that would have been something the judge would have been satisfied with. Some guy that watches lots of porn and buys lots of sex toys.
You know how hilarious though? Like, just think from a legal standpoint, like, qualifying this guy as an expert. Have you written scholarly articles within I think
there are PhDs. Yeah, there are PhDs that probably have delved into this niche area,
right,
about porn and exploring it and like examining it from a critical race theory point of view.
See, I would have had to take judicial notice. I'd have been like
Yeah. But another funny thing is that, so I did 2 live streams about that case. One was last year when the case first came into the news, and then earlier this year when the judge came out with his ruling. And so that guy David actually saw my video, and he posted this really long comment, just telling me how he's so embarrassed and this is hurting his chances of getting custody of his kids, and he was abused by his parents and yada yada. And I was like, okay, I feel sorry for the guy. So I took down the video, because he has an unusual last name. So anybody Googling is definitely going to find all this news and stuff. It's not like a lot of people saw my YouTube videos, but I still felt like, well, at least he was sort of polite with his comment, and I felt sorry for him. So I deleted that.
And you, my friend, are one of the sweetest persons in the world.
Because you wouldn't have deleted your video.
Oh, hell no.
That was newsworthy. It was in the public realm. You know, that you filed a lawsuit, so it's public record.
Yeah, this free game right here, man. If you don't want stupid stuff out there, don't put it in the ether.
Yeah, especially if you have an unusual name, then, you know, if it's a wacky case, sure enough, media is probably going to pick up on it and your name is going to be out there in the public. So that's another thing to watch out for if you ever want to sue somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so they probably added up how much he paid for I guess, porn, not corn. Yeah, because he probably had watched or looked at it so much that he knew exactly what he had, and maybe he could like look it up on some websites to determine how much it cost him. I have no idea.
Think about it. He literally kept a VHS player just for that purpose. What else? What else? What else would you need a VHS player for in 2021? Come on.
I don't know. Old family videos to remember the good old days with his parents that he later sued. Yeah. It sounds like he had a bad relationship with them for a while. Yeah. But so speaking of embarrassing news, maybe we should move on to the next news topic that I thought was also one of the craziest things from the legal news perspective. And so that was the case involving this Korean American spine surgeon. He seems very accomplished, you know, went to Ivy League schools, you know, he's probably raking in tons of bucks. He has an office in Manhattan. And so he ended up marrying a woman that was maybe 9 years younger than him, and she was Miss Connecticut, Regina Turner. So they were in the news. It was like multiple news outlets that actually reported on this crazy divorce case, because not only were they getting divorced, but he was also seeking to have the marriage annulled, saying that she had been a high-class prostitute of their entire marriage. And she made a ton of money doing it. And I guess he was busy working all the time, so he didn't really realize what his wife was up to. What do you think about that case, Marcus?
First of all, just from his standpoint, I don't know, maybe it's just me, how naive you have to be to not notice, if you're a high-class prostitute, I'm assuming that you're not having any car sex. You're going to hotels over the night and, extravagance thing. I just think this dude had complete blinders on, first and foremost, to be with her that long and that wonder what the hell is going on, like where you're getting your income from, all of these questions. The stories just didn't add up when you went through the whole article for me initially.
Yeah. Well, obviously being like a surgeon, he probably did work really long hours. And it seems like people in Manhattan tend to work long hours anyway. But she had no job, right? So she had all the time in the world. You would think she would do something more befitting of being, like the wife of a rich surgeon, do volunteer work or whatever, go shopping, have lunch with your lady friends. But instead, it seemed like she she didn't really need the money, right? Like, I don't think so.
Not with a spinal surgeon. Nah, she did it for the thrill. Take a look and it's interesting when you go deep into the article, just to touch a little bit on the total compensation for the years that he said this, because that was crazy to me. The compensation she received was insane.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so they got married in November 2015. They had no kids. They had a lavish lifestyle. In 2018, he was already earning more than $3 million as a surgeon. They lived in a New York apartment worth $6.5 million and also had a multi-million-dollar Long Island home. So there she is when she was competing became Miss Connecticut, 2011. But then he said he was a victim of fraud. She had been engaged in secretive sex work. She earned nearly $700,000 in cash from her clients. Wow.
Okay, so now this may sound crazy, and I don't want y'all out there to judge me, but so I'm gonna say this, and this was my thought. I didn't bring this up in the pregame, but this was my initial thought. Okay, I don't know what other problems they may or may not have outside of their marriage, but if everything else was fine, I would need to know if I was her husband. I would need the client to income ratio, because I need to know if you got $700,000 from 10 people, that may be different than if you got $700,000 from 495 people. So I would need that breakdown to really determine my level of frustration, and is this worth completely blowing up? Because hey, if it's high class client, you could just have one client who a baller. You never really know, but I would need that breakdown personally.
Yeah, but would you be less likely to divorce if it turned out the wife had only had like maybe 3 clients as opposed to 400 clients?
There's this sounds crazy, but if everything else is great and the only thing he found out was this and this pissed him off, I can therapy my way through and counsel my way through 3 clients, as opposed to, and they all got to make more money than me. You better not have went out there and slept with somebody who make less money than me. But if it was somebody who made more money than me, it makes it easier for me to rationalize as a man.
Yeah, you got to have some standards, right? Like you want your wife to at least have some.
Right.
Don't be giving it away for free, right?
Hey, what's wrong with you? Come on, I work this hard, I'm busting. The least you could do is put some effort into it.
Yeah. Well, but on the other hand, I'm just thinking that maybe she's going to be investigated by the IRS then, because if she supposedly took all this money in cash, I'm sure she was not putting it on their income tax returns. So, who knows if she has some legal problems there for tax evasion. Yeah. So he first became aware of his wife's double life in December 2020 when he came across an explicit iMessage intended for Turner, which detailed a sexual encounter between her and another man, the court papers reportedly state. Not to belabor the obvious, but the defendant clearly committed material fraud upon Dr. Kim by concealing her sale of sexual services in exchange for money prior to the marriage. Okay, so he's claiming he didn't even know about that before they got married.
Right.
As is further obvious, plaintiff would never have married defendant absent her lies and concealment. He says she also misled him, saying that she was studying science at University of Connecticut for 3 years before she left to compete for the Miss USA pageant. And it turned out she didn't even have a high school degree. Wow. And to top it off, she doesn't even have a high school degree. Right. God.
It was clearly
weird though. But then again, when you're dating people, I guess nobody ever asked to see your high school diploma or your college diploma.
I think it had to be something else going on, because I don't know, him making this issue and filing this divorce and going through trying to get this annulment and everything, it just brings so much publicity to the entire situation. So in my head, I'm thinking that he wanted out and he was just elated to find this reason to get out, because it's no way that, I don't know. I find it hard for someone to, just kind of blow everything up and like, man, you're going to look like a goofy for a long time by putting all this information out there. So he wanted to find an escape route. So he took it. I ain't mad at him. And yeah, if I was an IRS agent, let me work for the IRS. If I get a job at the IRS right now doing investigations, I'm coming after her just because of the comedic value in the situation.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. But on the other hand, plenty of people file divorce cases and they don't expect their divorce case to wind up in national news and on the internet, though. So I do feel a little sorry for this guy, because he was just trying to get divorced and probably trying to get out of paying alimony and stuff. And then lo and behold, all he and his wife's dirty laundry is being aired on all these different websites. So yeah, because most of the time, I do divorce cases. So I would say like 99.9% of the time, divorce cases are not newsworthy. I mean, nobody cares. It's nothing that needs to be put in the news, even local news. I think a long time ago, like one of the Carolina Hurricanes hockey players got divorced. So there was a little bit of something in the local news, but I mean, usually nobody cares. But because of this salacious angle where this woman was a beauty pageant winner, and is being accused of being a prostitute. I guess
Yeah.
the media picked it up.
It not only was it that, it was a salacious angle, but the amount of revenue she received. Trust me, if she was a lowbrow prostitute, we would never hear about this case.
Yeah, like if she just didn't look good and she didn't win any beauty pageants and maybe she made like, $5,000 being
people would be like,
who cares? Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So Raj says, I thought it was a scholarship program pageant. I don't know. I'm not into beauty pageants. I thought that beauty pageants are really unpopular now. Like it's not PC. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's money involved, but I guess that was a good excuse for her to tell him that, oh, I'm just a struggling college student and I'm doing beauty pageants because I need the money to go to school. Yeah. Isn't that
I think at one point, like he asked her, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how do you take care of herself? And she was like, she got an inheritance or something from grandma or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Yeah. A lot of secrets. I guess he should have been spending more time at home to see what his wife was up to. Yeah. Where was she going to use it? I'm not sure what do you mean? Where was she going to use it? The money? I don't know. But she was, I think she was even traveling overseas to visit her client or clients or something, but she lied to her husband and said she was working on some sort of app. She was developing apps for cell phones or something. So she had this excuse to be gone and traveling sometimes. Yeah. So always be wary if your spouse is off traveling around a lot. Yeah, this is what on a discussion forum, somebody said, oh, I bet his mother is telling him, see, I told you so. He had just married some nice Korean girl from the church.
Right. That's what you get. You wanted to go get a beauty queen. Look at you now.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, hopefully he didn't catch any STDs. Yeah. So wonder how outing her work would affect or lower. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what the law is in New York, but at least in North Carolina, adultery is a bar to somebody's claim for alimony.
Right.
Why it is a big deal if the person wanting money is the one that had the affair.
Yeah, that's normally in those southern states. You normally, the further you go up north, the less those type of laws are implemented. I know one of the running jokes. My wife didn't find it funny, but I thought it was hilarious. I was like, nah, if I ever was a multi-millionaire and I did something wrong and I knew I was about to get caught, you would know it because I would move to New York. So that way.
Gosh. Okay. Well, that was just like a really bizarre thing that made its way to national headlines and stuff. So that was great. Okay. So you ready to talk about Jussie?
Yeah, if we got to, it got to be said. But this is one of those things that just made me cringe when I saw it.
Yeah. Well, let's watch. Okay, I hope this shows up for people. So you guys out there, let me know if you can actually see and hear this. But this has to do with Jussie's. It's actually a parody of some comedians that decided to put together a recreation of what happened between Jussie and the two Nigerian brothers rehearsing the attack. So can you see it, Marcus?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me play it, and I'm not sure if the volume's going to work though. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, is that it? Do we have to go now? We have to
right now. Come on, hurry up.
I'm the man from the Empire Show. That movie?
Yes. Got a problem?
Yeah. What are you doing around here?
Guys, come on. The accent. More white, more racist, hillbilly. KKK.
Okay. Hey, nigga. Stop right there.
What are you doing in our camp?
Aren't you that nigga?
Yeah, I'm the gay Tupac. What's good? What's good?
What the hell you doing over here?
Aggressive. Oh, shit. Oh, rat, walk around his neck. Let me fight back a little bit. Let me fight back.
All right. Oh. Ow, that hurt, nigga. What the hell you do? Pour bleach on his nigger out.
I'm getting water.
Hurry up.
Please stop doing it, please.
This is MAGA country now, nigga. You don't belong here. We don't like your gay seagull ass over here. Don't you ever bring your ass around here, nigger boy, or we'll beat your ass again.
Please don't do it, please.
Hit him one last time to show we're serious. and run away so the cops don't see anything that we already did.
All right. Oh, why? Why me? Why me? Oh, that's good. You guys got Cash App?
No, you told me you was on me Venmo.
Venmo? I said Cash App.
Oh, I get the Cash App
You
right
tell me what's time you and me because I don't have my papers.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys, okay, yeah. So you guys out there could actually hear that. I hope YouTube doesn't block that part for a copyright claim, but I got my tuna Subway sandwich right here too, in solidarity with Jussie and how much he loved Subway. Because I was watching that interview he did with Robin Roberts where he was like, oh, well, you know, Subway is 24 hours. You know, first I went to Walgreens because I thought I could get something to eat at Walgreens, but Walgreens was closed. But Subway is 24 hours.
That dude full of crap. That was hilarious. That was the first time I saw that.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Today was the first time I saw it too, because I was just searching for news about Jussie Smollett and the case and everything. So I just thought that it would be really hilarious to show that video. Yeah.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you.
What do you think?
As soon as I heard the story, because it was, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they in Chicago or something like that?
Yes, -10 degrees.
Yeah, who the hell going to get a Subway sandwich at? If you're a TV star, who the hell going to get a Subway sandwich at 0 dark 30 in the night in below zero weather in Chicago? That don't even make sense.
Yeah, yeah. And then I heard someone say that the place where he lived actually did have like room service or something, or he could have gotten DoorDash or pizza delivery or whatever. And, you know, like, why would anyone go outside at 2 in the morning to Subway?
I mean, my radar, you know, you're an attorney, so you've been dealing with investigations your entire career. I do investigations for a living. I just heard so many parts of this story where I was like, what? It was a black guy with a MAGA hat? Like my radar, my spidey senses started tingling right away. In Chicago, I was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, it was I also read that it was a predominantly Democratic precinct. So that area went maybe 72% for Hillary Rodham Clinton. You know,
right.
Something percent of the people in that area even voted for Trump. So, you know, these guys happen to be walking around at 2 in the morning.
Right.
Late January in Chicago, and happened to have a bottle of bleach and happened to have this like string or whatever.
Right.
What did they say it was? Like laundry line? It looked like something you would use to hang your laundry with.
Yeah, it wasn't like nothing that was secure that'll be able to restrain you. And the funny part was, because, you know, I can't remember what the show was. It was a popular show that came on that he was playing on. And I know when that came up, the big discussion was, oh man, he gonna be off the show. How they gonna take him off the show? I said, I wish I was the producers. I would have took him off the show exactly how he made this dumbass story up. That's exactly how his character would have went out on the show, going to jail for telling the dumbass lie.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Well, I mean, did you ever watch Empire? Because I mean, I had sort of heard of it, but I never even watched a show before. So
yeah, nah, I couldn't get into it. I was like, nah, I'm not an Empire type of person.
But
what
was
I'll tell you though, one of the
right?
Yeah.
And he was
I was saying one of the things that I don't know if this was because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't this around the time where the election was kind of brewing or something like that? It was before, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, this happened January of 2019.
Yeah.
So Trump.
So I was like, I don't know if he thought he was doing the Democratic Party a solid by coming up with this fugazi, ridiculous story or what, but it was really ridiculous. And I know I can speak on behalf of the African American delegation. I was extremely upset and disappointed with him for this tomfoolery that he pulled that was ridiculous and stupid. Because because a lot of people came out and supported him. I don't know if you remember, but initially
like
there was a lot of celebrities like, "Oh, we stand by Jussie."
Yeah, like Jussie is a good man and we stand by him. You know, this is terrible. And even Trump said something that was sort of supportive too, because that was in that Robin Roberts interview. They showed
right.
of Trump. You know, even though Jussie was acting like how this happened to him because he's like spoken out against Trump or something. And there's another YouTuber that pointed out that, you know, I looked through all of his social media. He never said anything about Trump. So, yeah. I mean, it's just really bizarre. But I do think that, you know, he did it because he wanted attention and he was worried about his, what do you call it? Like his role, his job on the show. And he wanted people to take him seriously after that first letter was sent to him. And he felt like the producers of the show didn't take it seriously when he got this threatening anonymous letter. So,
man, I don't know. I think that, I mean, if you wanted people to take you seriously, act serious, bro. Like, I just find it ridiculous. Everybody, and I'm not one of those people, when something happens, and you probably the same way. I think most attorneys are like that. When something happened, I never jump on the bandwagon for against. I'm always like, let some more facts come out before I make a determination. So when everybody was jumping up and down, the story just made no sense. So I was like, I can remember early on saying that I think Jussie full of you know what on this one.
Yeah. Well, so this is why I wanted you to be on the show also, was because you actually have done criminal law as an attorney. So what crimes, if any, would you have charged him with if you were the prosecution? Because he was actually charged with disorderly conduct. Yeah. So, I mean, because granted, you worked in North Carolina as a criminal attorney.
Right.
Yeah, not in Chicago or Illinois. So, let's see. How much of the trial did you actually watch?
I watched a little bit. It was mostly on a recap. I know in some jurisdictions, like if you in the District of Columbia, something like that, essentially, that's essentially that could be a charge of, I don't know what they call it in, it's different titles in different states, but making a false threat accusation like that gets law enforcement to utilize, its resources to investigate, is a criminal act of itself. It's kind of akin to a false police report, making a false statement. And so I know that has some criminal culpability in most jurisdictions that I'm aware of, especially at the state level.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever handled a case that was sort of similar where someone was being prosecuted for lying to the police?
Not necessarily. I'll tell you, I have handled investigated cases like that where people lied to law enforcement, and you really get them because, criminal false statements to a law enforcement official is a federal crime. So, if you make a false statement, whether it's a written statement or a verbal statement or anything to that effect, that's an actual federal crime. So I have investigated false statements made against the federal government for purposes of investigation.
Oh, okay. And then what happens, after you do your investigation?
Well, essentially how it works is individual, they'll make a false statement. A lot of times, because the statute of limitation for most federal crimes, you're talking about for most federal crimes is 5 years. And so the first thing you would do when you're looking at an investigation, you want to see how many times there was a false statement. You can get it either a false statement or it can be an omission of a material fact. So both in effect could be actionable, from a legal standpoint. Most times when you do an investigation, what you want to do is you'll go back and look at everything from phone records, calls to 911, because you want to find how many times there was a false statement or omission of a material fact that was made throughout the course or throughout the duration, because it normally doesn't happen once. You make a 911 call with a false statement. Then when 911 on the scene, you tell them another false statement. A couple of days later, after you gathered yourself, you may go down to the precinct and actually write a false statement. And so each one of those is again, you just adding them up so you can charge with multiple counts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, what in this case, I read an article where some experts were saying that most likely he's not going to get any jail time. What do you think about that? Do you think that seems pretty right or fair?
Yeah, I would agree. Even though, like I said, I know from a federal standpoint, a false statement or omission of a material fact is a federal crime. It's a federal crime that has very low criminal exposure. The only way that then you got to take in consideration kind of who this individual it is. You know what I mean? It's not like he's an individual who wasn't gainfully employed. I'm sure he probably has substantial ties to the community that'll look good to the court. And the biggest thing is, I think from, the research that I did, it appears that he didn't have any previous criminal exposure. So him not having any previous exposure to the criminal justice system, if I was prosecuting the case, considering, hey, this is a guy who's employed, he got ties to the community, no previous criminal exposure, those type of false statement crimes are in effect low-level felonies where they probably won't have any jail time attached if you don't have any prior convictions.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about, I did hear something about him, was it a DWI where he blamed it on his brother, or he tried to pretend he was his brother to get out of it, but I don't know if he actually was convicted of anything with that.
Well, I haven't heard of that, but again, with the DWI, it would depend, and I'm just, I'm talking from, if let's say the state level has something analogous to a federal false statement criminal statute. If the DWI is there and there's a conviction, is definitely fair play. I wouldn't be shocked if that DWI in that situation, if there's a conviction tied with that situation and there's actual facts to show that he tried to do a misrepresentation of something in the past, that's something that prosecutor may look to see if they can, depending on how long ago it is, but to show it's probably some type of I guess would like to say one of his traits when he's in pressure situations to try to pass the buck or falsify information. So that could be fair game if it was a conviction, and depending how long ago it was.
Yeah, but I think as Raj touched on here, the biggest punishment is just that he is totally embarrassed. He's like a laughing stock of the country. Who would really want to hire him? He seems like he has some sort of personality disorder. Like, why couldn't he just finally apologize? Instead, he had to drag those brothers into the fray and then start trash talking them and saying that they were trying to, assault him, or they were trying to get money from him. And, I'm just like, come on, like, they were your friends. You even went to those bathhouses with one of the brothers.
Right.
The bathhouse and hanging out. And then his attorney's trying to claim that they were homophobic and that's why they did this to him.
I couldn't stop laughing because, when you're in the criminal justice field for so long, you look at how people commit crimes and think, man, damn, that's stupid. And I couldn't stop laughing that they actually show the guys going to like the local Quickie Mart or something, purchasing the MAGA hats. I'm like, come on now.
Well, they were trying to. No, because like I saw some of that footage where the store clerk was an African-American man, and he told the news journalist, he was like, yeah, I remember them very vividly because they asked me if I had any Make America Great Again hats, and we didn't have any. I was like, why would they want those?
Yeah, you think you gonna stick out like a sore thumb as a black man in Chicago trying to buy a MAGA hat? For the most part, I think they'd be like, "Oh, I remember exactly the day he came in." So that's crazy. It was piss poor planning. If you're gonna try to perpetrate a fraud, I'm gonna need you to put a little bit more effort into it.
Yeah. It's like, come on, this further shows that he probably does have some sort of mental illness or whatever. That's poor planning. You should at least think things through a little better, instead of doing such a horrible job trying to stage a hoax like that. Yeah,
that's true. But hey, it's because of knuckleheads like that. We'll always have something to do.
And something to laugh about, I guess. But again, though, Hollywood does have a way to making this into a documentary or something so he can be famous. Yeah, like if he actually apologizes and breaks down and whatever, I don't know what he could potentially do. He'll be straight to video. Yeah, if anybody wants to hire him once again. Yeah, so weird. Oh, so Snoopy95 says, what's the likelihood he pays the police department's bill? Wouldn't that also be something that could be part of his judgment, is to
Oh yeah, yeah.
repay?
You can have to reimburse for those resources that law enforcement use. It's actually, that's why, when I know from a federal standpoint, when we investigate cases, even though, you know, we aren't necessarily required to track hours, we do track hours that we spend on a case for purposes of when a judgment is against a defendant. You can, in certain instances, you can, you know, the judge can order that they have to pay back the government for all these man hours used for this criminal investigation.
Yeah, yeah. There was some article that said there were thousands of hours of time spent and overtime paid to police to investigate this, and was it over $130,000 of overtime that was paid to police officers or detectives to investigate this?
Because you gotta think, I mean, most, and this is kind of at the state level that I've seen as well, but at most state and federal levels, if a case came across my desk that I was investigating, off the break, you got an attorney assigned to the case, maybe 2 investigators assigned to the case, probably an auditor, some type of forensic auditor if there's, you know, money involved, and then maybe a support staff. So you got 5 people, 5 salaries just off the break who are going to be spending time on that case. And, you know, so it adds up very quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting whenever they finally do sentence him next year. You know, I think community service will be good for him. This guy needs to get back down to the people, you know, do something to help his community instead of being so self-centered and narcissistic and, you know,
I agree with you. I think that because of who he is, no matter how foolish this whole act was, he does have a voice that could provide some benefit and some use. So, you know, him going to speak at, you know, places like a perfect place I could think of, because I used to work at one, like a group home for, you know, troubled teens. It was pretty much all boys at the facility I worked at. But yeah, places need to hear that, hey, there's consequences for your actions, no matter what your place is in society, for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. That would be good for him.
Yeah, I think they'll give him a soft landing. I just don't think he has enough exposure to do anything harsh. I think, if anything, the example that'll be made will be, like you said, from community service and the financial hit he'll take from having to pay back all those man hours and resources used.
Yeah, exactly. So Tony is asking, did the case switch between prosecutors? What's up with the private attorney who took the case, the special prosecutor? Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, because originally the prosecutor decided not to charge him.
Right.
And then it just happened again. So I'm not really sure what happened there.
I'm about to say, I'm not sure how it played out, but normally, well, I'm not going to say normally, but if a prosecutor in a local county or a state municipality, if they're smart, typically when something like this high speed come up, a lot of times it would behoove them to actually bring in a special prosecutor to go through the grand jury and to see if it's actually worth charging, because it pulls you and your entire staff from having that aura of, oh, they're not going to go forward with it because he's a celebrity, or he may have contributed this to such and such. So, you know, anytime if I'm the prosecutor in Durham, and let's say a case happened with a local celebrity, a local basketball player, even a case happened where you're looking at potentially prosecuting a law enforcement official or someone in law enforcement, those are always good times to bring in an outside assigned prosecutor, because it kind of gives that impartiality, and it kind of keeps that shop having to deal with those people who saying that, oh, they're not being fair because of who a person is or what they do for a living.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I did want to show this a little part of the Dave Chappelle show, which again, you know, on replay, this part might be like cut out due to copyright claim or whatever. But have you seen this, Marcus?
Nah, I probably have, but I'm not sure what you're about to play. I didn't want to watch it yet. I haven't. I probably have though.
Get your raw reaction when you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least you were able to hear the other video. So let's.
It's in Chicago. That's funny.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Okay. It's beautiful because it's funny, but there's so much truth in that entire skit.
And I guess the thing, where he was like trying to make fun of him saying he was French was to accentuate the fact that most people don't even know who he is.
Right. And that's the thing, though. It is a big debate on the proper enunciation of his name. Mm-hmm. I can remember that coming up when we were talking, people talking about this, and you're like, who? Juicy? How do you pronounce it? The boy name is Jesse. That's what people just finally settled on, Jesse. But yeah, that was ridiculous. And the terrible thing is that I guess on a more serious note, but aside from all the comedy associated with it, I cross my fingers and definitely hope no one ever really gets assaulted in some, with some political nexus and something like that. Because, when people do stuff like that, it's like the boy who cried wolf. It may happen to somebody and they like, I don't know. Last time we jumped the gun and was all standing behind them. So, it could take some steam off of it if it happens and is legitimate. So that's really the bad part of the whole situation.
Yeah, exactly. And think about all the serious crimes that could have used those police resources.
Right.
Yeah. And he took away so much of the police's time doing this stupid stunt and got all this publicity and stuff. So, yeah. Well, what about year-end recap of your YouTube channel? You want to tell us a little bit more about how your year went on YouTube and what you have in store for the new year?
Okay, so yeah, I will. Thanks. Essentially, the year went, well. It was really like my first, full complete year on YouTube. So I had a couple videos that popped that got some really good progress. I was able to get the channel monetized, to create another stream of income. So that's always a plus. And really, the content moving forward is just going to be, some videos related to, just kind of the student loan debt payoff. The first year of my debt-free journey, we paid off $169,000 in debt.
Wow.
In February, my student loan that we're working on now was $109,000, and the current balance is about $45,000. So,
wow.
We're just taking that opportunity. As long it's very few moments that you'll see ever in history where the federal government will do something that could expressly impact your financial position. I mean, asking them to forgive loans. I mean, let's just be realistic. That's probably not going to happen, but we're definitely trying to take advantage of the student loan interest freeze, the payment forbearance, and just capitalize while that interest isn't accruing. And really for the channel next year, I kind of took a little bit of hiatus. I still put some videos out, not as regularly scheduled, because I wanted to, just improve a little bit of the production, improve a little bit of the content. I'm going to do a lot of more stories and reaction related to things that I see in finance, some serious, some hilarious, but just, touching on financial topics and tracking the debt-free journey until we get this student loan down to zero.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So were you able to pay down a lot of debt this year because you sold one of your rental properties?
Yeah, it was about I would say it was probably about half and half. In selling that rental property, we were able to use most of the proceeds to, of course, satisfy that mortgage. So that was about $79,000 that was gone. But essentially from January, I guess a quick recap, in 2020, when they first put the freeze in place, because we weren't making any student loan payments, I said, hey, let's go ahead and use that money we would normally pay the student loans to pay off everything else. So that in 2020, we took care of the cars, the credit cards, the overpriced furniture that my wife just had to have and I couldn't say no to. And at the end of 2020, the goal was in 2021, let's just have our student loans left. So we used about, after satisfying that mortgage from the sale of the house, we used about half of the proceeds to put towards the student loan. And essentially from February up until now, we've been paying anywhere between $2,000 to $3,600 a month. and paying off that student loan. So it was a combination of both. Of course, you know, when you sell that investment property, you got to keep some stashed away for that, long-term capital gains tax. So we may have a little bit more that we could put on once we make sure the tax obligation is satisfied this year. But that's pretty much how we made the progress. Consistent payments and, you know, some of the proceeds from that rental sale worked out.
Yeah. So Raj wants to know, where's your wife?
Oh, she actually went to Six Flags with my daughter. They had like a holiday, New Year's Eve, Christmas thing or something to that effect. Me, I'm not fond of going on a roller coaster when it's cold outside, so I respectfully declined.
Where is there a Six Flags near you? In New Jersey or something?
No, they actually, you know, you remember down in Prince George's County, it used to be Wild World, but it transitions into a Six Flags, but it's more like a 2.5 Flags because it's not as cool as a real Six Flags.
Okay, yeah, I had no idea there's a Six Flags there because, you know, when I was a kid growing up around Atlanta, we went to Six Flags in Atlanta all the time. So
Yeah.
Well, and somebody else wants to know, are you going to reinvest in real estate again?
I am going to invest in real estate. I guess what our plan is right now, because we always took the approach of, a lot of people you hear say, oh, you should pay off all your debt first before you invest. But that only works if you could pay off your debt in 12 to 18 months. If it take you 4 or 5 years, you don't want to not invest and let that money work for you. So we have always done both. We invested and paid off debt. So the plan is to invest in real estate, but we're not going to purchase any other investment properties until we get my student loan and the wife's student loan both eliminated. Because, I mean, then we'll be in a position where, I mean, just think about it. I'm sending $2,400, $3,600 a month. I mean, if I wanted to buy a cheap rental property somewhere rural, I could save up and do it in a 12 to 18 month period and be in a good position to put a significant portion down. So real estate is the game plan, but I'm not a proponent of having all of these doors. I have 10 doors, but I have a mortgage on each door. That's not the way I want to go.
Yeah,
I would much rather have 1 or 2 properties, but I would rather have 1 paid off property than 5 properties where there's a mortgage attached, just for purposes of creating a stream of income.
Yeah. Okay, well, cool. Well, it's almost an hour. So thank you so much for being willing. It's just kind of last minute when I got your email. I was like, hey, I should ask you to join in the show because it's always more fun with another guest.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate the invite. And as soon as I saw the topic, I was like, hell yeah, I do that.
So we can all have a laugh at some stuff. I mean, there's
right.
I mean, there are definitely a lot of depressing legal news, like the Ahmaud Arbery case, the charge, there's just all these like depressing legal news or boring legal news and stuff. But, at least sometimes there is something in the news that gives us something to laugh about. I guess at somebody else's expense, but,
Definitely.
Oh, please collaborate more. Okay, well, we'll try to think of another topic, like even if it's a serious topic about
that's cool too.
Best way to finance law school or how to decide what law school you should go to, if at all.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for being here. Also, Tom is another fellow YouTuber that I've known from almost the beginning, and we met through a Facebook group for YouTubers, and been supporting each other through this journey for almost 2 years now. Well,
nice.
Yeah, let's go. What's crazy eyes? What do you mean? I don't get it. Oh, Elizabeth Holmes. Yeah. I haven't totally been following that trial. Yeah, she was that fraudulent woman that tried to set up a company based on a bunch of lies. Yeah. She was pretty young and pretty and blonde. All these like old men were willing to throw money at her business. Gosh. Yeah.
The only trial I've been looking at as of recently was the Maxwell trial that just happened, where they just got a verdict on. That was the only one I really had my eyes on. But I haven't been outside of that one. I haven't been tuned in too much.
Yeah, there's also a lawsuit going on now against Yale Law School filed by 2 of the former law students, but I haven't looked totally into that either. I'm not sure if the subscribers really want to hear about something that dense, but You know, I mean, there's just so many topics we could cover, especially with you, you know, in the world of finance, money, personal budgeting. You know, that's a really good niche to do too. So yeah,
Definitely.
alleged fraud. Yeah, it's all, give people a benefit of doubt, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll say Happy New Year to all the viewers that are still out there at the very end of this. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel.
Definitely.
And please support Marcus's channel too. If you're not subscribed to Debt-Free Dad, please go on over there and hit the subscribe button and buy his merchandise when he has it all up on the internet. So Marcus, why don't you stay on for another minute so I can say goodbye, and we'll say
Gotcha.
Happy New Year to everybody out there.
Yeah, take
Thank
care.
you. Take care. Bye.